y'all. Welcome to my channel. I'm Muriel. This is Nurse Muriel. First off, I want to say thank you to my new subscribers. We are at 623, y'all. We are inching up there. Every video I drop, I get more and more subscribers, and I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you. I see my demographics are even expanding. I am getting, y'all know my core audience, was intended to be the older nurse, 30 and above in nursing school, just to encourage you. But I see my demographics are even going to like 18 to 24. I even have some men. I think it's about 10% of my viewers are men. And I just want to say I greatly appreciate each and every one of y'all, because when it comes to nursing, y'all, it's for everybody. Nursing is for everybody. Nursing is a way for everyone to win. I also want to give thanks to my oldies but goodies, y'all. Y'all know I can't forget y'all. Y'all know I be down in the comment sections laughing and kikiing with y'all. I try to read every comment and respond to every comment, only because I love to talk and I'm long with it, and I'm glad that y'all find interest in the things that I talk about. So on today's video, I was just sitting here thinking, y'all, you know, the people who just like overthinkers who just sit and think all the time. I'm one of those people, but it didn't get to the point where I drove myself crazy. You know, you could drive yourself crazy thinking too much. I remember a long time ago, somebody told me, you think too much. And I had to sit and reflect on that thing. And I said, they're right. I think entirely too much. It had gotten so bad, so I had to start trying to not overanalyze every little thing. But I was sitting here thinking, y'all, because I ran into one of my coworkers from about, oh goodness, she was a coworker of mine probably 13 years, no, more than that, probably about 14, 15 years ago, because my daughter at the time was only like three or four. And I hadn't seen her in all those years. And I just happened to bump into her at the facility that I worked, the current facility. And it was just like a reunion, because me and her, when I met her so many years ago, we just instantly like bonded, and to the point where we went on a boat ride together. You know, we always had conversation when we saw each other, and then it expounded outside of work. And so I was, you know, we were reminiscing, we were talking about the kids and all. And that brings me to this video of how long-term care may be the specialty for women, single women, or single men with children, or even married. It doesn't even have to be single, just women with children, men with children. Because this coworker, she was the first person that I ever saw bring her children to work. I remember she used to come to work. She used to have her kids with her. She used to have them set up in the conference room. She used to have, they'll come with their breakfast. They'll sit in the conference room, eat their breakfast. They used to, you know, there's a TV in there. They used to be watching TV, and she would work. She would be working, and she would pop into the conference room periodically to check on her kids. I think at that time, her oldest child was probably about 9. It would be 2 girls, and they're about 9, I think was the oldest one. And she would just go in and out and periodically check on them. And I would have never thought, you know, I had already had kids at that time. By that time, my oldest was old enough to really stay home and watch my kids, but I would have never thought to bring my kids to work with me. And after I saw her do it, not gonna lie, there was a few instances where I would have to bring my kids to work with me. It wasn't at that job, but it was at a job in my hometown where I was known to a lot of the workers. It was a job that I had worked when I got my nursing license, quit, and went back to. So I was familiar with the workers. They knew me. Like I said, I lived in a small town. And I would have to bring my kids to work from time to time because, you know, I was never the type of parent, you know, my kids are spread out in ages. So when I had my last 2, my oldest was like 12, 13. So as they got older, as my last 2 got older and they were like 5 or 6, my oldest was already like 18, 19. And so I never stifled my children from doing what they wanted to do for enjoyment in order to stay home with my younger ones. So there were instances where I had to bring my younger 2 to work because they were younger. They were like 5 and 4, like they were younger. I would actually sit them at the nurse's station with me. No, it would be a full shift, but I wouldn't have someone to watch them for a period of time. I would actually bring my kids to work with me, y'all, and they would come and they would sit at the nurse's station. But I would actually have them set up with like coloring books and stuff like that, and they would sit and they would have to come sit at my job, and they'd be to the nurse's stations with me for about an hour or two until my daughter could come pick them up, or it was never an arrangement where they had to be there when they were that young where they would have to be there the whole shift. But it was like until someone can come pick them up, or until this is like if my daughter wanted to go to the movies or something and I had to work and I had to be to work at 7, I would bring my kids to work with me, and then when the movie ended she'll come pick them up. So they would be to work with me for like 2 to 3 hours. But really, I don't know of any other type of job where you are allowed to do this. Like, it is so convenient. And another thing they do in long-term care, say you're a mother or father and your kids get on the bus. Say your kids get on the bus at 7:30, 7:45. It's a lot of females in this field. I'm speaking long-term care specifically. I don't think this is allowed in the hospital. I don't know about other type of facilities. In long-term care, like I said, I would bring my kids in with me. They would be at the nursing station. They have whatever they coloring books or whatever they needed to keep them busy for like the 2 hours. And then the way the nursing station was situated, it was like in the middle of the hall, so I would have to pass by it. Like during my rounds, I would have to pass by the nursing station. So I was able to really keep my eye on my kids to where, they weren't getting into anything. And with us being females, y'all, the other techs on the floor, because I was the only nurse on the floor and there'd be the techs, they would keep an eye on my kids for me too. You know what I'm saying? And it was understood that this is just what we do. I wasn't the only person that brought kids to work. Now, there were other people who actually brought kids to work. And not to say that this is something you should do every week. Like, okay, I don't have nobody to watch my kids Monday and Thursday, so I'm going to bring them both days. But, it's not frowned upon. They know, they're so used to it happening. It's not frowned upon. I worked with a coworker who the kid school was canceled. She had to work. She brought 3 of her kids to work. This is another coworker. She brought 3 of the kids to work, sat them in the conference room, had them set up. This was later on when kids had their own iPads and stuff like that. She had not iPads, but those little portable, like the little things they got now where they can watch TV, watch YouTube and stuff. I forgot. Y'all know kids have these little things like this now. So, yeah, every child would have one. Kids. So, and this is recent. That's why I'm talking about it. But she had to bring all of her kids to work, and I think one was maybe like, I think the oldest one was probably around 12, and then she had like there were 12, and they're probably like, I'm gonna say 7, and then one was like 3 years old, something around those age ranges. Well, she set them up in the conference room. They had their little tablets or whatever, and the oldest one basically kept an eye on the youngest one, and they were there for the entire shift, not just for a few hours. They were there for the entire shift. The older one kept an eye on the younger ones. The mother, she was working. She would come pop by in and check on them throughout the shift. When she took her lunch break, she gathered her kids up. She took them. They went and got some lunch. She brought them back. She continued to work. When she left during the day, she took her kids with her. Her kids were there for the entire shift. They really made allowances for mothers with children, fathers with children. Now I'm be honest, in my whole 22 years, I've never seen a man bring their kids to work. I have never seen it happen, but we know, y'all, this tends to always fall on the mother. They always end up being the one. I ain't gonna say always, because nothing is absolute, but we know nursing, healthcare, nursing wise, and in long-term care specifically, is predominantly like 96% females that work in these type of facilities. So another thing that they tend to do, and which I think this is so nice, like if your shift starts at 7 o'clock, but you have to get your kids on the bus or get them to school, and you're not going to make it to work till say 7:45, it's like already known she won't be here till 7:45. And it's no big deal as long as they know you're coming. I say this specifically more for techs, not for nurses, because if one tech doesn't show up, that doesn't stop the rest of the techs for leaving. As long as 2 techs are on the floor, the previous shift, they all could leave. So if one doesn't show up, but we know she's coming because she's dropping her kids off, she'll be here. they make allowances for that. I've even seen where the schedule would be made where the tech would be scheduled 7:30 to 3:30 just so she doesn't lose her hours. She was allowed to come in 30 minutes late for her shift every shift, but she had to stay over 30 minutes. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, them facilities don't really care if you stay over the 30 minutes. They don't care if you get your full 8 hours. You cannot get your full 8 hours. If you get all that work done and you got it done in 7.5 hours, because they still gonna take 30 minutes from you for a lunch break. So you're only gonna get 7 hours for that shift. But to make it look good, they put 7:30 to 3:30. But that's an agreement they come up with to help aid for like the techs or the techs. I'm not gonna say nurses, techs who are not able to be there on time because they have to make sure they get their kids off to school. Nurses, it's a little different because if you don't show up, you're preventing the next nurse from leaving. But I do know there are nurses who are known to get there late, and so it's just an automatic known that she's not going to be here on time. Now, it worked out better like that when there are more staff on because the agency isn't as forgiving if you show up late to relieve an agency nurse. But when there were more staff on, a lot of nurses, like if there were two nurses working, the hall, one was on this wing, one was on the other, and you worked alongside the nurse that she dropping her kids off. That nurse will normally go ahead and count that other card so that other nurse can go home because they kind of like got a rapport. I hate getting long-winded like this, but I just want to say that long-term care does make it pretty convenient for mothers. Now, when it comes to getting PTO time off and stuff like that, none of them want to give you no time off. They want to give you all kind of craziness about requesting time off and stuff. But even now with agency nurses and agency techs, like certain agency nurses and techs are in the same building for so long. Like where I work, there are nurses and techs who have been coming to that building for 3 years, but they're strictly agency. And so they don't get, the benefits, the conveniences of benefits, insurance, and stuff like that. But this also plays along with them. Like if they are known to get there a little late and they're an agency nurse, the facility kind of be like, okay, we know she come a little late. She drop her kids off. Like they really do try to work it out. I'm gonna say all of the facilities I have worked in, they have tried to work it out. They'll work it out when it comes to your children. And like I say, this is like time to time, not bringing your kids to work 2 and 3 times a week, but they will work it out. It's a little different now only because of COVID. It's different now because of COVID because no one really wants to bring their family member in these facilities. But I'm talking about back in the days when it wasn't no COVID. So yeah, I just wanted to just put this out there. I hope y'all get the gist of what I'm saying because y'all know I ramble, but I just wanted to let you know how long-term care can be beneficial for the single parent as well. Y'all have a good day. I'll see you on the next one.